Welcome back to another episode of Frustrations of a CTO. Today, I'm joined by Mirava Mikus, who's Global Product Lead for Costa Coffee. I feel like Costa Coffee is powering the nation somewhat in the morning, so I'm sure everyone's come across the Costa brand, and I'm delighted to have Mirava as part of the episode today. Mirava, do you want to take a minute just to introduce yourself to those watching and listening?
Costa for nearly 6 years now. I'm based in London, and I joined Costa kind of technology and digital space. My expertise sits in loyalty systems, marketing automation programs, CRM, and apps as a front end for those experiences. When I joined Costa 6 years ago, I was looking at their UK market, and back then we had 2 million base on Costa Coffee Club, and it grew to 9 million base.
Wow.
Yeah, I think it's one of the biggest and probably most we're proud to be one of the most loved loyalty program in the UK at the moment. And yeah, probably 2-3 years ago, I moved a little bit into international space. So I'm working with Costa international markets when I was leading implementation for loyalty program in India and in Poland recently.
So tell us a little bit about your background, because you moved from a technology provider to Costa. So just talk us through some of that.
Yeah, sure. I mean, my background is a little bit of mix. And as you said, I started my career working for a global tech provider. When I kind of was looking at the implementation for large-scale loyalty programs on many markets. Then I moved to France when I spent 7 years with the same company, working with clients across Europe, Canada, all the way to Brazil, really. And that was an amazing experience because you get to work with different markets, different businesses to see how they really implement loyalty programs, systems. And that was an amazing experience because actually you get to work with different businesses and markets and see how they are adopting technology to their business model. But so kind of naturally, when you work in this loyalty space, you dive into customer segmentation, communication, different kind of promotional mechanics. And I was always very interested in to see how this really translates into real life data. And as working for the provider, you don't really see this. Obviously, our customers share with us success stories. We get some high level metrics, but I was always really interested in to really see how technology impacts kind of day-to-day business. And I guess this kind of curiosity maybe led me to Costa when I moved to UK some time ago.
Great. And is that a global product lead is a very challenging role, and I'm sure across Costa. What are some of the largest challenges that you face in that role? And as particularly as well, moving from a technology provider to essentially the client as well. Perhaps there's a cultural challenge there as well, just going from one side to the other side as well as just the general role.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, when I moved to Costa, I knew technology because Costa was back then running their loyalty system of the provider that I worked for. Yeah. But I was not part of the implementation kind of project. So when I joined Costa, I was trying to really see how they implemented the system, how they've integrated it, how the models work together. And whenever something didn't seem right to me and I was asking the questions, I would get this reply of, we've done it because we historically did it this way. And I just really very quickly noticed and realized that Costa was sitting on quite customized version of the system. So that brought that brings a lot of complexity with how you run the program.
Yeah. So they've customized a lot the original platform, which I imagine then led to sort of the inevitable of higher cost of ownership, slower to change, slower to deliver the value that they thought they were going to get out of the product. It probably made that quite challenging times.
Exactly, because then suddenly you realize you're just you're maintaining, developing, and supporting some kind of a tailored version of the system, and it's hard to move on from. And it impacts a lot of things, I believe. I mean, first of all, the sort of a knowledge about how the system was implemented, how it works, sits with this group of project team that might necessarily be within the company any longer. So I think that's one thing. The other thing, you can't really leverage functionality to the fullest because it's been tailored to how you wanted to have it. You can't leverage the product roadmap because it's not really plug and play as you would imagine it should be. And and what you said, last but not least, you just can't move on because actually updating the system is quite impossible at this point. It's almost like another project when you have to actually, it's not about lifting and shifting anymore. You just have to implement the whole new project. That takes time. It's another 6 to 9 months. It's a cost for the business. And I think all this led Costa to the situation when we were really trying to leverage quite old technology, and we end up moving from it sooner than we actually planned. So I think it's just difficult situation from the both sides, right? Because we had to change the whole technology, go through the big transformation sooner than we initially planned. Tech provider loses the clients sooner than probably they would have if we could have kind of upgraded sooner. So I think this is the kind of really difficult cycle between the two that we had to write.
So the lessons learned there is you take a platform and you end up customizing to the nth degree that actually you create more problems at a high cost of ownership. You then had a single point of failure or a single point of failure on a small group of people that had all the knowledge. And then you couldn't even leverage all the future roadmap you bought into by buying the platform in the first place, because that's why you're buying the platform, right? To leverage that roadmap and future developments. You couldn't even do that, and inevitably you've ended up shifting to another platform, right? So those are some of the lessons learned. But then how did you roll those lessons learned into the new platform and maintaining the new platform? How have you influenced day to day that view now where perhaps configuration of the platform is a better approach to customizing it?
This is a conversation that needs to happen, I think, between stakeholders, business owners, and actually delivery team, and to set a clear expectation on what we want to achieve. I wasn't that close to the final implementation of the system. I took part in a RFP process to choosing right provider. But I think even from my experience and the different markets that I'm working on, we just need to have this set of rules of how we work with the providers and with the technology. And this is what you just said: try not to over-customize. And very often it happens, whether it happens with the technology partners or sometimes it happens within our IT team. Mostly it happens just because everyone has the best intentions, right, at heart. But that's why we need to be clear on what we want to achieve.
So you got your partners saying yes, the team saying yes to the ask. You're asking them to do things, and people are saying yes, and perhaps yes is sounds like a right answer, but perhaps actually it wasn't the right answer after all.
Oh no, I'm quite scared when everybody says yes and no one asks questions. To be fair, when you kind of have a functionality and you tell why you want to do it, what you want to achieve, and somebody is taking it and is not asking any questions, it's a very dangerous place to be, I think. So saying yes, not always is the right thing. And quite often it brings a lot of difficult situations, puts us in a lot of difficult situation, whether we bring on too many functionality in too short period of time. So we're talking about the project creep that never ends well, or we just over-customize the functionality. And I think there is a way to do it right, but and I think how I would approach it is when business comes with what they want to achieve and why they want to achieve. You have to take this what and why and actually sit with the implementation team, with the developers, and see how we can do it and in what timeline we can do it. And then we probably can meet each other somewhere in between. Maybe it won't be 100% the way how business imagined it in the first place. But if you're able to articulate why this is going to be this way, what are the consequences of these decisions and what you base your decision on, I think we can really have a proper conversation, find a common ground on how it should be done.
Yeah, so what's your view on that? And how does it, what's it like, if you can, what's the culture like in Costa in terms of there's a requirement, a need, and the business come to you and say, this is what I'd like to do. And I must have, is it a case of I must have this 100%? Or have you got use cases where you've gone back to them and go, look, you can have this on an 85% basis and you can have this quicker and it's configurable, based on configuration, for example, or we can do the 100% one, but it's going to take longer, is going to be more complex. And is there then an acceptance that actually, do you know what? Yeah, we'll get the value quicker and we'll come back to that? Or is it very much, no, we must always have what we ask for?
No, I think business, we always push a little bit, right? And this is how it should be done, right? But absolutely, I think I've never seen situation when I would talk with business owners, with the international market, and we would say, I think maybe there is another way to do it, or maybe we can approach this functionality first because it will unlock X and Y, and then come back to that later on. And there is certain degree of customization that probably we can allow in a system. But my experience is that I'm really working with the amazing people all across the team who are open to listen. And obviously on a grand scale of the project, we would have situation when we were told, well, we can't move the deadline. We can't move the go live. But then you have to make compromises, right? And compromise happens either with resigning from some functionalities, which I think is the best case scenario in the beginning, or you make compromises on how you integrate, which is very risky, I guess. Or anyways, you end up pushing the go live, and then it brings a lot of frustrations from everyone because at the end, no one remembers why we did that. Everyone just is focusing on the fact that we are pushing the go live date.
Okay, and talking of frustrations, right? As this is Frustration CTO series, as a global product leader, technology leader in this space, what's a really frustrating question that you can be asked by the business? You just really gets under your skin, like, oh, that's really frustrating. Why am I being asked of that? Well, that's just, why do they keep asking this question?
Probably there's many, although I don't get really frustrated by the question asking by business, really, because it's just, I think the role of the product lead is to kind of be able to translate what business want to achieve and how you can do it with technology and the other way around. So there's obviously some questions coming from the business. Why is it taking so long? And I understand those questions. Business people sitting in the business, they don't need to understand this complexity that sits behind the technology. This is our role to help them understand that. And I think important is to really break down into really kind of understandable pieces of information. And then you can I've always encountered really positive, feedback when we are able to really explain why something has to happen or it's taking that long. Because for the business, it might be just one button in the app. This button triggers a lot of things in the backend. And so there's a kind of a piece of education, I think, there. And I remember when we started to implement international loyalty for international markets, I would quite often see in decks that we've launched a loyalty app. And I was quite firm with the fact we can't just call it loyalty app because it gives an impression for stakeholders that it's just the app. It's so simple. It should be wide. Take 6 months, 9 months if it's an app, loyalty app. But it's not a loyalty app. There's a loyalty system, marketing automation system, quite often contact center kind of model attached to it. There's integration with POS, which comes with a lot of probably frustrations itself and limitations. So there's a lot of things in the back end that is happening. And I think from the beginning of your conversation, you asked what was the biggest kind of shift and change that I've noticed. It was that there was not enough understanding. When I joined Costa, everyone was focusing on the app and on the front end, and there was not enough understanding what's behind the app. And I think it's changed. It's changed a lot. It's changed on the stakeholders level, on a kind of business, kind of more business owners level.
So that communication and transparency seems to be key. As you say, initially it was just a view of, there's an app, or it should be quite simple. But actually, by communicating, giving transparency around the complexities of the app and the operations behind it, then people have an appreciation of what you're doing and what you're working on. And what's your view in terms of sharing a problem is halved by sharing the problem, right? Do you take some of these challenges that you have in your role and in the team to the business? Do you openly share and sort of talk and bring them into the conversation? Do you find that helps because actually they might give a different lens, a different view, they might assist in solving the problem, or are those very much kind of kept within the team and will just tell you what you need to know when you need to know?
No, I think I'm very vocal about I'm also curious about what did not go well. And I would be the one asking questions, even if the project I was not even involved 100% with the project, but I know that team is struggling with something. I would ask question, why is that happening? Is it technology, or is it implementation, or is it integration? So I'm always very curious, and I would kind of encourage, I think, every product owner, product lead, just to have a really honest conversation about what it's not working, because only this way we can stop doing it again. And Costa, I think, has an amazing corporate culture where people want to listen and learn from mistakes.
One of the key foundations to a successful project or delivery is to make sure you've got the right partner on board if you're not delivering the technology completely internally. So having the right partner is key. How do you go about selecting the right partner, or what do you look for in a partner when you're looking for a new partner? What do those success factors look like for you?
I think there's two bits to it, right? One is your technology vendor, right? So you need to choose the right pieces of the architecture. And the other thing is, once you already have the vendor, how you go about the project implementation, right? So when we look at the vendor, and actually this is what happened recently in the UK, and we kind of, you probably would go through the traditional RFP process when you just kind of go through what is in the market. You have cleared, and then again, depending on where you are in your digital journey, you probably know, for Costa, we knew what we want to kind of achieve, what functionality we are seeking of for. And then you kind of analyze what technology partners are offering. Usually it's quite similar. There's some subtle differences in how they integrate bits. So you might want to look at whether maybe how for the references, maybe some experience in the sector that you are sitting in. Maybe they have already experience in integrated with some pieces of the architecture that you already have, which also comes in handy. And then, and then you look at the future roadmap, because again, you don't want to start with the technology that doesn't move you forward. So there's quite few elements when you're choosing technology vendors, and then once you have the right stack in place, how you go about implementing it, because it's equally crucial to kind of success of the whole transformation. And then I guess team has to be able to map where the gaps are, right? Whether we need help with project management, program management, is it help with maybe implementation, system architecture, etc. And I think this is, and then again, we touched on it, is just to have the right conversation with the partner, so we again avoid this over-customization, because obviously everyone wants to make everyone happy. So let's kind of set up the overarching rules of how we want to run the program, what we want to achieve, have everyone on board with it. I think this is how I would how we would go.
And there's different types of partners. There's the technology partners that provide the underlying platforms, and then there's implementation partners, system integrators, consultancies. Call it what you like. Do you work with both types of partners at Costa?
We do. Yeah. We do, exactly. And this is where it sometimes comes tricky if we don't set up those rules on how we want to implement what we are expecting from the partners. I think we need to really be able to define roles and responsibilities, to have a kind of a project governance, and really just encourage conversation, or constant conversation and communication when things doesn't go wrong, doesn't go right, when something needs to be flagged. Especially at Costa, I really feel that we can have this conversation, but sometimes people are avoiding it for many reasons. And sometimes it comes maybe, again, with the good intentions, right? We want to meet your business requirements. This is how we think it has to be done. But we end up again in a quite tricky situation.
And I'm a very strong believer in relationships and good, strong, open, transparent relationships, and being, seeing everybody on a very similar level. And I think that for me, at least, that partnership, choosing a partnership, or if we are partnering with somebody, if you use Fabric, then making sure we've got that open, level playing field, and that culture fit as well. What do you think about from a cultural perspective when you're choosing a partner, and how integral is that to the selection process?
I think it's very integral. I mean, Costa is always trying to run with certain ethos, and I think it comes across every department. And quite frankly, when you say about building the relationship and everything, and I think it comes down really to every single team that you are working with, whether it's your partner or whether it's your internal team, just to have exactly this ownership of the program, of the system, of the implementation. Because only then, when people feel that they're part of the bigger picture, they feel an ownership. They're more willing to share when something is not going well, when to flag something. And in the end, we are working with technology, and even sometimes we're trying our best. It's just the technology in its nature fails sometimes. And in those moments when we kind of have to push a little bit more, when I've worked with delivery team that were really on board with kind of a bigger vision of what we want to do and how we want to achieve, they really are more willing to push a little bit more if when needed. Yes, I think we talk about technology, but actually this is people who really develop technology, implement technology, and then later on work with technology. And we can't forget about this human factor in all this.
Yeah, agreed. And I like to take a one team approach as well when we go into engagements as well. So at the end of the day, we're all trying to achieve the same outcome for the business or from our perspective, the client. Everyone's got the same goal and the same outcome. And for me, it's about putting it aside, whatever like the contract you signed, you're part of X organization or Y organization, put it in the top drawer and close it, because now we're all one team and we're all trying to achieve the same goal, the same outcome, and working together. And it doesn't matter if you work at X or Y. I just think that is, for me anyway, personally, that's such a key cultural aspect of having a good high performing team and working an integrated team as well between, a client, a business such as yours, and partners as well, just getting that culture fit to click.
I couldn't agree more. And I quite often said that to the team. I don't care how whether your email says, right? To me, you're just part of Costa and you are a Costa team. And I don't really care whether you're maybe a third-party provider because we needed additional developers or additional testers or QAs. It doesn't matter to me. We are just one team and we are, trying to achieve the same goal.
Yeah. It's the classic as well. The one I really hate as well, is contractor versus permanent.
No.
I cannot get my head around that. That, you're a contractor, so you get treated like this, and you're a permanent person, you get treated like this. And the worst I've seen it is contractors, they don't get invited to the Christmas party because they're contractors. I'm like, hold on, they've done just as much work as the team, the permanent people. And surely the team's the team, and we've all just worked. It is awful. I really don't like it. I really don't. That upset me, that type of culture I had to work in.
No, I've not seen that at Costa.
No. Everybody goes to the Christmas party. Okay, great.
If we have a Christmas. Yeah. But no, absolutely. I've not seen that at Costa, and this is not how I work with the team. And actually, with in my international kind of setup, we really work with a lot of contractors and third-party providers, and sometimes they stay with us very long. And I don't care in essence where they're coming from.
No, agreed. Yeah, agreed. And also different cultures as well. International teams, different cultures. Like some people can struggle with that. Yeah. I find it amazing that we can work with such a broad range of people and skill sets and cultures, and bring the best people together. From in our example across Europe. I think it's an amazing opportunity to work with all those people. But again, some people can potentially treat people in different countries differently, and that grates on me, I'll be honest.
I love internet. I mean, I'm Polish myself, but and I working in an international setup. It just brings so much different perspective that you might not get that, with when you close yourself with just people who think the same way and look the same way and speak the same way. You get this diversity of looking at not only the world differently, but also problems differently, which helps sometimes very much.
Yeah, no, agreed. Yeah. Okay. Every business is wanting to innovate, be at the forefront of technology, do more. How do you foster innovation within Costa? How do you tackle that? Is it an initiative thing? Is it a cultural thing? How have you approached innovation?
It's a big one, I guess, because I think I don't share very popular opinion on innovation, and I'm actually happy to be challenged on that. But I think quite often when you think about innovation, we think about technology, and I don't necessarily think that this is technology that drives innovation within the business. Because when you look now, let's say on the top shelf providers' products, they similar. right? The functionality that they provide, they're very similar. And I think especially in kind of loyalty space, we are talking about similar things for many, many years. But I think what can differentiate you from others is actually how the team is using technology, that you are giving this technology as an enabler for innovation. And I think this is something that I might say our UK team is doing so brilliantly. They really, after the kind of the whole transformation, that really worked endlessly to understand how the technology works, how they can use it even better, how they can surprise and delight our customers in a better ways, more personalized ways. And that's amazing to really to see, because on the contrary, I've seen also at Costa a situation when I would have two markets sitting on the same technology, having the same functionality, and the results of the loyalty program is completely different. Okay. So I think that proves the point that technology is one thing, but actually how you use technology, it's important. And I think tech vendors also realize that, because quite often I see in an industry how they are talking about their system is not very dry functionality, what we have, but actually how you can use it in a real business. And some vendors are doing it brilliantly.
Yeah, that's a really interesting example. The fact you've got the same technologies, as you say, just people using it in different ways, getting different results from it. And
we don't have the right people in some markets, right people to really drive it, to leverage functionality. Yeah. You can't go on like that, right? And then you have a partner that is experienced, have the right people on board, right partners when they need to have, and strategy behind it.
When you're so involved in delivery, the team are 100% focused on a deadline or a feature they've got to deliver. Your pressure's on. How do you still give the team time for innovation, give them a voice to voice innovative ideas to the business? How do you give that space and time as well as delivering on the main outcomes?
That's a good question. I think in Costa, this is the way how we are kind of probably structured within loyalty and CRM teams, where we have really team looking at this strategy of the loyalty system, and this is where they ask questions, they see what's on, what the competitors are doing, what's there on the market, how we can leverage our technology to do so, and then having the proper conversation with technology. So I think it's just really having the right team right people within the team whose role is to focus on this bit of a business.
So Mirava, what advice would you give to other digital products leaders in this space going through transformation or large complex projects? What would that main piece of advice be?
Well, I think it's just be curious, ask right questions, start with why are we doing it? Because I think everyone probably at some point of our career have been in the middle of the project and asking the question, why are we doing it? So let's try to avoid that. And let's kind of try to bring everyone at the same page. Then I think it's a big piece around prioritization. Sometimes you have to be quite ruthless when it comes to prioritization, and again communicate that clearly to the business owner. Be brave enough to do it, because I think in the long run this is what pays off. Yeah, I think try to admit when something is not going right, push it through. Celebrate small wins. Yeah. It keeps you going. And I think something that we touched on before is to really build the right atmosphere within the team where people feel ownership of the whole kind of project, because that really helps. Especially it helps when things doesn't go right.
There's so much there. There's so much advice. It's great. I love it. I love it all. There's so many key takeaways I really like. And one of them, just to get back to one of them that we've explored in previous episodes as well on the series, is we keep coming back to this, and it's interesting you've raised it as well, which is ask the question why. And that just it seems to be an underlying theme from other people who spoke to on the series as well, as ask, why are we doing this? Why do you want the change? Or and really focusing on that question.
I think it helps when we all understand why are we doing it in this moment again of frustration, and when something is not going right and we need support from stakeholders, when you can really articulate why you are doing it and why do you need their help, because someone made a decision at some point to make for this project to happen. It just makes it so much easier to later on navigate difficult situations.
Just gives you that tool for the conversation, doesn't it, to reflect on. A quick question as well: how do you celebrate successes? What's your favorite way of celebrating successes? What do you like doing to celebrate success?
I think my team is kind of spread all over the place, but I think it's just honestly shout outs in meetings. Sometimes this is just enough, and really be advocate for your team whenever you can. And this is what I'm just trying to do wherever I can.
I like that. Yeah. So celebrating success doesn't have to be a tentpole moment. Certain points. It's actually just, if there's any success, then we should celebrate it and talk about it there and then in the moment, not wait for a specific event as well, right?
Absolutely. And also admit when something is not going well. It happens. And I think I'm usually the most relaxed person in the room when something is not going well, because in essence, we are working with technology. Obviously, if you have problems all the time, there's like fundamental problem within your organization that you have to tackle. But things happen, and technology sometimes is not working as we would like to, even if we go through testing and everything. Just kind of try to then have the right people quickly in the room, react quickly, understand why it happened again, so we can avoid that in the future. I'm not afraid of making a mistake. I think this is where the biggest learnings come from.
Yeah, it's just important you learn from your mistakes and don't make the same mistake over and over. Because if that happens, then obviously we've got, as you say, there's probably something else that's wrong and needs to be talked about. But mistakes are okay, so we learn from them. We try and prevent them from happening again.
Absolutely. And then when you look at it, you're just not scared of making a mistake, and then you're more you're braver to actually have this conversation with your stakeholders, flag things, and it's just kind of, I think it all makes more sense then.
Absolutely braver to try new things, push boundaries, try things you wouldn't have thought doing, because actually it's okay. So last question from me, in terms of your role and what you're seeing out in the market and customer from customer perspective, what kind of trends are you seeing or shifts are you seeing?
Our customers are probably more aware of loyalty programs than they were before, and they want more. They want more personalized communication, and this is, I think, Costa team is really focusing on. When I started my journey with loyalty, I think we didn't look so much into data. A lot of retailers were even happy not to just owning the data. It's just as long as they have some sort of a platform to communicate and reward their customers. But at some point, we all realized that running actually a loyalty program, we are sitting on a gold mine of data. And even at Costa, when I joined, we had, I think, maybe one person in data team, and now we grew to really big data team that is serving not only our loyalty team, but also different teams across the business. So I think this approach to data also changed, and approach to how we communicate with the customers. I think this communication is more and more personalized on that kind of more one-to-one level. And I think the technology allows for it more, probably AI. I mean, we have to mention AI talking about the technology.
Yeah, glad we got it in there. We got it towards the end of the episode, so we don't know on yet.
I think, with AI, I think that how we are trying to kind of tackle it at the moment is this really around segmentation and more predictive segmentation, how you can maybe quicker react to customer behavior. This is the kind of the space when I see AI working in our world at the moment. So I think that's a couple of things around customer behavior and their expectations and approach to data and kind of a role of AI that might take part in the innovation process.
So I said that was my last question, but I got one more last question. Now you mentioned AI, put you on the spot. How are you educating the workforce internally around the possibilities of AI, or how AI can help in the work in the solutions, or maybe it's in internal processes? How are you bringing that question to the forefront when the teams are coming up with solutions? How are you making sure that they perhaps are thinking about, okay, well, could AI, some form of AI, help or be part of the solution to this requirement? Do you think that actually that's something that needs to be worked on in terms of education? There's a lot of talk about AI, right? But do people really understand, or certain groups probably more than others? How do we start educating the workforce around bringing the idea of using AI to solve a business problem into the conversation, rather than somebody separate going, oh, have you thought of AI to do that?
I don't, at Costa, I think we are maybe not there yet. And overall, I think we talk a lot about AI. It's the main topic, but have you seen that really in use in really proper business case yet? I think we're just kind of still testing waters or where we can do it. And probably in our spaces, this is really when I believe it can bring value. And this is where we have our data team that is trying to kind of incorporate that into our business, is exactly how we segment people, how we look a little bit at their behavior, whether we are able to react to their behavior quicker. But it's, internally we have conversation about it. And even yesterday I had a workshop run by data team to show how the new ways of working with using some of algorithms. But overall, I think at Costa, we're just still testing waters. And
I don't think you're any different there. And I think that's my point, is like, we're just right at the beginning of that journey. And it just fascinates me as well, how we're going to sort of educate everyone to try and bring it more into the conversation and change our thought processes when people are finding solutions to problems. We're not going back to the usual way of solving problems with the usual technologies or processes or human intervention. Actually, to think, oh, also, could I use some form of AI to help? And it's just that mental shift that I keep asking people about, like, how are you dealing with it? How are you bringing that in from a cultural perspective and an education perspective?
Don't you think that to the amount of time we spend talking about AI, there's not so many still use cases that we can actually really talk about it? It's quite interesting, right? The whole buzz around AI and actually how we're using it in kind of a business.
How many production uses, real life use cases, and I'm sure there's lots of people out there doing it in part. But I agree. I think it's because it just takes time. I think for people to understand the art of the possible, and then how that can be applied in their day-to-day roles or systems or processes.
The learning curve as well.
Exactly. And I think it just takes a bit of time. And I keep asking people to see how far along that learning journey we're on.
And I think you have to kind of lay out your foundation a little bit as well, because with AI, it's a lot around data, especially again in our place. And if your data are all over the place, if you feed AI garbage, you're going
you're going to get garbage out, right?
Right. So I think that's just kind of, maybe that's why we still, it's just, there's a lot that we need to do upfront to really benefit from AI, really.
Yeah, great. Mirava, thank you so much for joining me on the episode today. I really appreciate it. Thank you for your time today. Thanks as well for watching this episode of Frustrations of a CTO. Please like the video on LinkedIn and subscribe on YouTube, and we look forward to seeing you on your next episode of Frustrations of a CTO.
Frustrations of a CTO.